everyone. Here we go, Dr. Z here, and we are here today with Liz Roberts. Hello, Liz. How are you?
Hello. Hi, Dr. Z. How you doing?
Good to see you. Good to see you. And I'm so glad that you're coming on and having a conversation with us. And Liz, do you want to maybe start with telling us a little bit about your background?
Well, I've always been in finance. I started off as a teller, and then I went on to becoming a commercial credit analyst and did a stint as a commercial credit collector and also as a consumer collector where I worked for a debt settlement company. And I've just always been in some aspect of um, either credit or collections. So when I started to build my own business, I focused on helping business owners get financing that's considered high risk, like startup businesses or business owners with bad credit. So I stuck with what I know.
Gotcha. And so, how was your when you went from banking into financing? How was that transition for you? How did you started making that transition?
It was it was really simple actually. At the time, I was dating an SBA lender, and he had asked me, like with the SBA financing is super cheap. And if you're a startup that can get SBA financing, it's like having a really cheap line of credit that you can use to expand your business. And it's kind of like the holy grail of financing. So he had me start helping people get equipment financing because they could, instead of using all of that money to purchase expensive equipment, they could keep that money for that rainy day when maybe they're having a little bit of trouble getting a loan or meeting payroll or something. That money would be available to them, and they could still get the equipment that they needed by using equipment leasing. So it would free up a lot of the capital. And so I just started doing that with him and kept at it. And it was 21 years in this past June. I've been doing it.
Wow, 21 years, huh?
Yeah.
What's one of the first obstacles that you started that you had maybe when you were starting doing your business?
Well, it was finding customers, of course, But then when I first started, it was before Google. So I was trying to rank on NetFinder, right? And Alta Vista. And then Google came out,
Wow.
and I was truly blessed. And for like the first year or two of Google being there, we were ranked like number one and two for a lot of our keywords. So from there, it was great. It was easy. And we basically started doing a lot with vendors, a lot of people that sell equipment so that I wouldn't have to keep constantly looking for new clients. So I get most of my business by referral. And as my business grew, it just got to be too overwhelming for me. So a lot of people know me more in the outsourcing space because I used to have this huge team in the Philippines, like 12, 13. Well, I think we grew to about 14 people in the Philippines. And I
Wow.
was, outsourcing what I couldn't do myself. So then I started doing we do it for you kind of stuff for other people. So I ended up working with great marketers like Russell. I was working with Russell Brunson, Fabian Lim, and some other really great marketers doing outsourcing. So a lot of people know me in the marketing space for doing outsourcing. And that's another way that I grew my business was to outsource everything I didn't need to do.
Oh, that's cool. And how that's a great kind of nugget right there. And how was it that you started growing these teams in the Philippines? How was that for you?
Well, I was at an event and I met this guy named Danny Sullivan, which was so funny because everybody kept thinking I was talking about the SEO guy. But this guy he owns a company called Agents of Value. And I had actually been referred to him by another marketer. And then by happenstance, we ended up at an event where we were sitting next to each other, So I started to use his services to, because he had managed workers. And as time went on, I started to bring in my own people and I would manage them myself. And then like I did some training in Singapore and Malaysia overseas for business owners that wanted to learn how to outsource pieces of their business that were affiliate marketers, right? Because I was making a ton in affiliate marketing. I had gone through Russell's .com secrets, the first version, and it tripled my income. So
Wow.
I was showing people how to use outsourcing to do the same thing. And then what, and it was really easy for me because my loan business I turned into a lead generation business because I was still generating loans. I was doing leads and stuff like that, and I had some helpers that were funding me on some of these deals, but I was just like, I didn't really need to put my hands on everything. So I was on mini vacation. I was semi-retired, that's what I call it.
Well, that's great. And how, as you grew the teams in the Philippines, did you travel to the Philippines a lot,
Yes,
or
yes.
how was that? I love the people from the Philippines. Aren't they like awesome, you know?
They are. They treat you like your family right away.
Hmm.
I still have a team, not as big, but like my main project manager has been with me for 14 years, right? And so we've been just, we've been through a lot together and I trust her explicitly, right? There's some people you have to like grow into that space, but she's
Hmm.
she's awesome. And then every person that we hire these days, we vet them really good just to make sure they're not flaky and stuff. And it's a great way to free up your time, of course. Otherwise, as business owners, sometimes we're living, breathing, doing everything, and everybody in our lives is like, they slowly, your phone stops ringing because everybody knows you're busy. They're like, oh, she's going to say no if we invite her because she's busy with this or she's busy with that. But by outsourcing it, not only was I able to free up my time, but it was also great that I could go out and visit people, and just keep in touch with people and stuff like that. So I love traveling. So I love being in hotels. So I'm
Yeah.
always finding ways and reasons to do to get up and go.
And you're giving opportunities like to the people in the Philippines to like connect and learn from you, and
Yep.
that's awesome. And so, what type of, how does it look for a business owner, for instance, to this is such a good conversation because it kind of goes into like how much of our health has to do with like being able to delegate work, and elevate ourselves to our next growth, not to try to put all the weight of the world in our shoulders, which I'm guilty of, as to do it. And so, like for a business owner, then how does it work? Would you do like a couple of hours a week, or like a 20 hours a week, or a full, or how does it usually work?
I would just do as much as I needed to do. So it was usually a couple hours a week. Like I said, Sheila's been with me 14 years. So she knows the ins and outs a lot of times. And she knows some of my banks and stuff. So if I pull, like, I don't like, just because I know that some of my customers wouldn't like it, I pull the credit. And in our CRM system, I'll put the credit, and I'll put what their credit score is and any problems. And Sheila knows enough about our lenders that she knows where I'm going to submit this and what I would do to get that. So either she would submit it or one of the other girls would submit it, and or she would reach out to the customer, and say, we need this, 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 and this. So most of the time, I just need to pull the credit and leave some notes on it.
Gotcha, gotcha. And what was one of your biggest examples of like when you started helping people with finding finance for their businesses? Was What was one of your biggest, like one of the stories that you remember helping somebody out and they got the finance and then their business, it helped them?
Well, this past, probably about 3 months ago, I had a customer that was just really great from South Carolina. awesome people, but they were a startup. The credit was a little weak, right? So they had gone through like 3 or 4 different banks, and I knew that this was something that is going to be one of those explanation kind of credits. So I talked to them and I got all the paperwork together. Then I also wrote a really nice write up about them because I just really wanted to get them financed. And so I got them approved. And 45 days later, he quit his job, his regular 9 to 5 job, and he's been doing this ever since. When I first worked with them, his when he sent me his bank statements, they were kind of weak. But I just recently had the opportunity to work with them again on a short-term loan, and his bank statements are so much higher. He was just like, "This is amazing, Miss Liz. I'm doing my own business, and he's making way more money than working for somebody else, even thinking about going on vacation. I was like, yes, Brian, go on vacation. You deserve it, So, those are kind of things that really help, really like, that's why I like working with startups, I worked with another startup years ago, in beginning of when I started this, so it's over 15 years ago. And then maybe about a year or so ago, I had contact again from them, and I was just like, first name I didn't recognize the first name. It ends up it's his son. He's now retired out of that business, and he's given it to his son. So when it was time to get some financing and some new equipment, he told his son, "Call Liz. She'll walk you through it." So that's what I did. Second
Oh,
generation.
that's
Yeah.
that's amazing. That's amazing. How would you say that, like, if has there any point at which being an entrepreneur has impacted your health, both negatively or positively? Like some people, like, yeah.
Um, I'm not sure if well, sometimes I don't know. I don't think it's ever really any experience could be negative or positive as you
Yeah,
go with it.
exactly,
Uh,
exactly.
I was hospitalized a few years ago and ended up with a staph infection after a minor surgery, and it was really hard. I mean, like it was just kind of crazy. But what was great, because I was in and out of it for over a month, and I don't know, it was great or maybe it was bad. I'm not sure. But my business didn't miss a beat. My project manager took over everything, except for the pulling of the credit. That's all she would ask me to do. And I just recuperated. And I just thought to myself, if I was with a regular job, they might have been able to fire me. They could have done anything like that, but instead I was able to recuperate and get back on my feet. And it was just great. But of course, there's sometimes when you're as an entrepreneur, you're not really working a 9 to 5 or even a 9 to 12 or something like that. Sometimes things come up and you got to take care of it. So while you have that flexibility, you also have kind of like more of a responsibility. So that could be a bit stressful, you know. It could be real stressful, and stress will age you and put weight on you. So I say, outsource.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think you're so right. I think it's like, it's like, the stress of it is definitely, of course, more of our responsibility, but it also, there is like this freedom that comes to it, like what you said, that you were able to say, hey, I'm gonna take a month to kind of relax, and then your business keeps going, and keeps going. It's amazing, right? Like that
Yeah.
must have been a great success in a way.
Yeah, I was like glad that I trained her well, but on the other part, I was just like, I always kind of, but at that point in my life, I was always like, yeah, without me, this business would just go down the drain. And then I was proved wrong.
Hey, that's a great thing to be proved wrong of. That's a
Yeah.
great thing of being wrong of. Um, Listen, and what's next for you? What type of stuff are you working on?
Well, I'm getting my nephew into the business. I'm teaching him how to do business financing and how to build business credit. That's one of our biggest sellers right now, working with people with with credit problems, a lot of them can't um, get regular financing. So last year, I had the opportunity to work with this lady, and in the end, we couldn't get her financing for $10,000. We couldn't get it because she had extended her own credit to a company that defaulted. So I kept sitting there talking to my sister. Well, if she had contacted me 6 months before, it would have been a walk in the park. And then I found myself repeating that again with another customer going, wow, if they had contacted me 6 months before, this would have been a walk in the park. And I was like, you know what? Instead of like sitting here doing this, Monday night quarterbacking, I'm going
I'll be
to
back right away.
I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to reach out to people and I'm going to start teaching them to dig their well before you're thirsty. That's how my mom used to say it all the time. And so I'm going to be putting on workshops all over. My next workshop is in Chicago on November 2nd. It's right off the Mag Mile, so it's real easy to find. And it's going to be 3 hours that I'm going to cover how your personal credit affects even building your business credit. Then we're going to go over how to build business credit, where to get financing, the timing aspects behind it, and everything like that. And we're also going to cover how to work with alternative financing methods as you're building your business credit. Because, like with my people being that they have bad credit, they can't automatically get approved for loans. So there's time you have to build up your business credit. So during that time, there's many different ways to get your business financed, but some people don't know about them. And so I'll go over those tips. And then, like for anybody that actually has good credit, one of my lenders has offered to come on and he'll work with them during the seminar. And if they've got a 680 or above, he'll be able to pre-qualify them for lines of credit in their business name that do not require a personal guarantee for 25 to $50,000 in their business. So just imagine if you're somebody that is like doing Facebook ads, and right now your budget is $10 a day. What would it look like if you could take your budget and say about $100, $1,000, whatever it is that you're trying to do, and have that in unsecured credit that doesn't require your personal guarantee. So one of the things that like my clients like, which I always tell them, hey, this is not the purpose of building business credit, but with business credit, if you default underneath your business credit, it's only going to show up on your business credit. Doesn't touch your personal credit. So you could sit there and default on $25,000, $50,000 underneath your business name and still keep your good credit, your good personal credit. So that was one of the things that a lot of my clients like about building business credit. So, but that's not the
Yeah.
excuse for anybody to run out and default.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think you're right. Like, yeah, I think when you think about like going like bankruptcy and things like that, like so many of us, we've heard the stories of people going through that or defaulting, and that that even though it's like probably some of the most difficult times of people, that like that there is like people who've come out of that, and that's kind of what you're saying, that the benefit of having the separations of the businesses, and that's why the business entities were built in a way, right, that
Yep,
you were able to have that separation, and that your mistakes, that you're able to learn from them and get back on your feet, from these mistakes,
exactly.
you know.
Exactly. And I mean, like, and with business credit, you also get the benefit of like, when you apply to American Express as a consumer, they might give you $5,000, $10,000, but as a business, they automatically like sometimes give you 25, 50 instead of that lower amount because you're a business and a business has like expenses. And sometimes they're thinking that you have employees that you may be putting underneath you to have a business card with your business name on it. And so they'll give you those larger lines of credit. So it's really one of the reasons why I keep thinking to myself, if so many of these customers had first come to me 6 months prior, I could have gotten them started with their business credit instead of them like having to sign up for a cash advance, which is good financing, but expensive. And it's kind of like that last kind of, you don't want to do it if you don't have to do it kind of thing. but it's the only option open to them because, like with a cash advance, you can have a credit score down to like 450 and the banks will still approve you with it. But you have that daily or weekly payback. But if you had come to me 6 months before, we could have put down the groundwork. We could have built your business credit to the point that your business qualifies. Your personal credit may still be suffering, but your business will be able to qualify on its own for its own financing.
Hmm. That's interesting, Liz. And so, if some, what's the worst credit score of a personal credit score that you've had somebody's business done it, and kind of what was the strategy, a little bit of how that works?
Well, we had a client whose credit score didn't, she no longer scored. That's kind of like experience saying, forget about it, right?
It's like when the yeah, when the machines, or like you're testing any type of machine in the blood work, and it says too high to read or too low to read.
Yeah, it's
Ah,
basically run to the hills. You're not getting your money back, right? But there's ways of getting that financed. It usually requires a large down payment and additional collateral because the bank is not going to, they're not going to let themselves be unprotected, and say,
right,
hey,
right, 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 right.
that's kind of like, well, it's like even with the SBA, when you're getting an SBA loan, they really want you to have that 30% down. The banks want you to have that 30% down because the SBA only gives you a 70% guarantee. So the banks have a guarantee of 70%. If they can get you to get that other 30%, their money is now 100% secured and safe. So when you're looking at like bad credit financing, you have to look at that, like this. Just recently I had a guy that there's just no way anyone's going to finance him. you know they're looking at, even though his credit score was still in the 550 range, he had so many repossessions of cars, like three different repossessions, not all at the same time either, at different times. So that was what really was the biggest red flag, was that 2 years ago he had an $18,000 something repossessed. Then maybe 2 years prior to that he had had another one, and now he has one that's like in the process of being repossessed. That kind of tells you that they were all high dollar amounts too. So the bank was like, even if we got 50% down from him, he'll probably still default. And so that's something that's not a fundable deal. But if you have like some redeeming qualities, it could still be done even with not scoring, because we actually did get her approved without having a credit score.
Wow. And so these redeemable qualities are like, what type of qualities?
Strong banks, looking at her current credit as it is now, is all of this debt like defaulting now, or was it in the past? And then for her, it was in the past. She just hadn't bothered to build any new credit. She was just like, I just keep getting turned down, so I didn't try. And I was like, well, you need to do the secured credit card route. You need to do something to start building your credit back up, which is something she took my advice on, and she did. But they're looking at another thing that the banks are looking at is like, why did you go bankrupt, or why did you default on these things? Like we had a guy that got turned down from his vendor and from several other banks, but we got him approved because his delinquencies were due to the fact that he fought cancer and won, thank God, right?
Wow.
And then his wife was diagnosed with breast cancer, but he was able to maintain most of his other lines of credit, like paying the minimum. He just didn't pay any of the medical stuff. He was going to fight that, and so a lot of places just said no, the score is too low, and this and that, and we got him approved at a good rate too, because we had a bank that will uh, not ignore, but they will basically say, okay, this is before he had cancer. He had great credit. While he had cancer, he kept paying on minimum balances on things. The only thing he didn't pay on was his medical.
Wow, so it's amazing. Like you almost take these personal stories and um, yeah, like everybody even is not. It goes beyond the numbers.
Exactly. As long
You
as there's a
know.
good story behind it, we can get it done. But like if it's just somebody that you look at their credit and as a as a broker myself, I sit there and go, I don't want to have to chase these people because like sometimes I'll help my bank because I've done collections before, and sometimes I'll help them to collect on some of these debts, and I have a personal relationship with them. So it's easier for me to call up and say, hey, what's happening? You're late. Come on, we need to get this done. And this is how this late payment is now affecting your business credit. So let's get this cleaned up so that we can maintain, get you up there as far as your business credit goes. And usually they'll listen to me and they'll say, okay, yeah, we can definitely get this in and I can get that money in. But when I see somebody that just doesn't pay, I'm just like, there's banks out there that will take that kind of risk. But then as a broker, I'm going to be chasing this person all the time to help them to collect on it. And I don't want to. It'll be too stressful. It'll age me. So, I'm like,
Keep the sleep. Yeah, I mean the beauty. You gotta keep the beauty.
yeah, exactly. I'm not going to let this guy put gray hair on me. I'm just going to be gone.
That's awesome. And so, if somebody's starting a business right now, if they're listening to this, and what is some of the things that they can do to start thinking, or tactics that they can do to start building uh, their business credit score?
Well, they need to first make sure that they're incorporated and um, or an LLC. And one of the biggest mistakes we see a lot is that let's say that you incorporate under my business incorporation, right? And you spelled it out. And then you go applying for loans with my business Inc. You have to have consistency, especially now that most of the banks are scoring everything by computer. So there's nobody really sitting there going, oh, Inc. and Incorporated, same thing. Some of these some of these banks are like, it's not the same. Or let's say that you have My Business Inc. is what's showing up in the yellow pages instead of My Business Incorporated. It has to be the same everywhere because the banks are going to first, when they look into your business, they're going to check the Secretary of State and everything, look and see if you're in good standing. Then they're going to want to see, are you a real business? They're going to check the 411 listings and stuff like that. And My Business Incorporated spelled out is, as far as they're concerned, different from My Business Inc. So one of the first things we do is we go in there and we start making sure that they're consistent across all of their social media, the phones, everything has to be the same. And like we had an old business that was really long name. So while in the Secretary of State, we had it fully spelled out, but like everywhere else, we had just the initials. And so that was a problem, but we still had business credit in there because it was an old corporation. But we went in there and we started cleaning it up just so that we could start building more business credit. And then uh, they also need to have vendors that work with new businesses. Like somebody with good credit, they are lucky. They get a springboard. Like the banks will sit there and they will give them lines of credit and business credit, things like that, based on the fact that they have good personal credit and they won't require a personal guarantee. Their whole thinking is this: if this is somebody that we would have financed anyway, we'll go ahead and lend them the money right now. But like and that's how, like, when we're doing our live events, we can still get people with good credit immediately financed. But like when you've got poor credit, you have to have these things called starter credit. And these vendors are like Quill and Uline, and we have like a huge database that we give to like our private coaching clients that they can like do marketing materials, all kinds of things. And all of these vendors will report to all three of the major um, business credit bureaus, which is Dun and Bradstreet, Experian, and Equifax. So you want to make sure that your vendors are reporting, because there's no point in doing it if they don't report anywhere, you know? And then you have to self-report, and that costs money. So we make sure that our vendors are reporting to all three. And if they don't report to all three in our database, it shows you that this one only reports to Dun and Bradstreet or whatever. But we encourage them to, like, if you needed to go to a marketing event and you're building a big banner for your event or something, use one of these companies, and then you pay back slowly, building your business credit as you go along. You're getting goods and services that you need, you know, and you're still building your business credit. And that's why we have such a huge database, because sometimes, people don't need Quill, because, we do a lot of cleaning companies. So they use Quill a lot because they have supplies, like cleaning supplies and things like that. But like some of them are just regular, entrepreneurs or consultants. So they need more marketing things, pens, paper, brochures made, things like that. And we make sure that we have plenty of different vendors to provide those.
Oh, interesting. So what I'm hearing is that the first thing is make sure that you incorporate it.
Hmm.
Uh, the second thing is that the name is across the same everywhere. That way, it's all consistent. That when the banks look you up, there's no confusion about, because just one little letter changes who's registered or not.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is to use vendors that are reporting, that are reporting,
Yep.
um, because that impacts.
Yep. And like if you have bad credit, you need to have several months of reporting to kind of like show how you pay, and then you go to the next level, which would be kind of like fleet credit cards, or the Amazon cards and things like that. But usually you do need to have those vendor credit cards first. And depending on, like, if you're somebody that gets one vendor credit card, that's not enough. You should have at least five on your business credit report. And they need to be reporting for at least 4 to 5 months. Then you move on to the vendor credit cards, and you should have, just keep thinking about comparable credit, uh, don't just sit there and use these vendors for $20, $30. You're not really building business credit there. Do something that's a couple $100, couple $1,000, and pay it back consistently, because one of the best things about business credit is that it doesn't have the criteria of personal credit, where they're looking at your age and how you pay, how much you have outstanding. None of that. Business credit is based solely on how you pay. So if you pay on time, you're building business credit, and your score is going to be quite good. You want to score like Dun and Bradstreet is the kind of like the most popular one right now, and you
That
want to
which one?
Dun and Bradstreet, D&B. So, but that's not going to be the case. I actually met another competitor of theirs, which I think is going to be taking over the marketplace shortly. So I'm going to be getting my clients ready for that too. But Dun and Bradstreet, you want to have a pay dex of around 80. 75 to 80 is considered a good pay dex. And you can get a higher pay dex, like a pay dex goes from 1 to 100. So
Okay.
you a good to say that you're a good payer, having a pay dex of 75 to 80, good. Saying you're a great payer, anything over 100. And you can do that by, let's say I send you an invoice today and you send me the money today. You're paying super fast. You're paying within 10 days of receiving an invoice instead of the net 30 that you're allowed. And that helps you build up over 80.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. So that's interesting, and all that gets extrapolated into what the your increased chances of getting business lend credit.
Yeah, because at that point, after you've had the five vendor cards, and then you go in and you start getting the Amazons, the Dells, those kind of credit cards is what's the next level. And then you use those, like you buy yourself a new computer or your staff new computers, whatever. and you build there. You get 5 of those. And then your next tier is you're now going to be able to be eligible to start getting vehicles financed in your business name. So if that's something that you need, or unsecured lines of credit, like really large lines of credit, that's where your next thing is after you've had 10 lines of credit reporting on your business credit report.
Hmm. Awesome. That's awesome. And so then in these events that you're doing, they're 1 day, 2 day, three
They're
day.
1 day events, 3 hours, where I just touch on the personal credit because I really want to jump into the business credit, and then get as many people as I can finance during the event. And those that don't qualify, we have our business coaching program where they can either take the information, we're going to give them enough information to go and do it on their own, or if they want to be coached by us, we'll give them the opportunity to do that too.
Oh, that's awesome. So it's kind of like, I love that, like hands on. They go to the events, but they're actually getting work done while they're in the event.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yep.
that's great. That's awesome. And this is which what what's the date?
We're doing it on November the 2nd. It's in
November the 2nd.
Chicago. It's at from 10 to 1. We're selling the event for 297, and it's at 444 North Michigan Avenue. So it's the Mag Mile, but it's not where the shops are. It's like past Coach, go over the bridge, and it's over there by the Purple Pig, which is a great place to eat, but it's in the corporate end of the Magnificent Mile.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I used to live in Chicago and I love that city. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah,
And
that's where my
go ahead.
nephew. No, that's where my nephew is, and I wanted to do the first one with him so that he could see how it is and how to run it, because eventually he will be running the show.
That's great. That's great. And if somebody wants more information or to register for this event, where would they go?
Well, they can go to Facebook. I can give you the link, and you can put it in there.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have it listed on Eventbrite, and they can just also message me, at liz@leasefunders.com. And
What is it called? Liz.
Liz, Liz, at Lease Funders, and it's Lease, F like in Frank, UNDERS.com.
Got it. Liz at lizfunders.com. Got it.
Yep.
And the event will be there.
Yep, it'll be there. We're going to have a page up on it. Right now we just have a little paragraph, but we just got the venue sorted and paid for. So we just have to make a few little adjustments to it. But it's a 3-hour long event. We're going to have light snacks and drinks available there. And it's going to be from 10 to 1. And it's 297, which is like really cheap. When I used to do these a long time ago, it was well over $1,000. But since I haven't done them in a few years, I'm going to discount it. And we're going to do one here in Chicago, one in Phoenix, Arizona, and one in Houston, Texas.
Oh, that's awesome. That's three great cities.
Yeah. I just decided, like before, when I used to do this, I would always just do it if I'm going to be visiting somebody. So I'm going to be attending a Facebook ads like a workshop. So after the workshop, I'm just going to do my own workshop in Phoenix. I live in Houston, so I'm going to just be doing those here, and we'll probably do one a month in Houston.
Awesome. Oh, that's great. That's great. So, wow, wish you the best in those events.
Thank you.
Liz at Liz. So
Lease
is
Funders.
lizfunders.com. That's the
Yeah.
website.
Liz at Lease
Fun.
Funders, like equipment lease, leasefunders.com.
Gotcha.
We have it on our Facebook page as an event. So it's an easy click in there. It's also on Eventbrite.
Awesome. Great. Awesome, Liz. Well, thank you so much. It's been great talking to you and thank you for sharing all the knowledge bombs.
Thank you. It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Definitely. And I hope that all the best in the event and have a great one.
You too. Take care.
Okay.